Bienvenidos. Welcome, everyone. I am Martha Haynes. I'm the chairman of the board of directors of the CCAT Observatory Corporation. And I want to thank all of you who are in the room for being here today. But I also want to thank all of our friends and supporters and collaborators from multi-continents around the world who are participating in our event today virtually. After all, we can do things virtually, and when we actually start observing with the telescope, the observers will not necessarily be anywhere near here. We can be anywhere. I want to welcome our distinguished guests, some of whom will have speaking today. I also want to welcome our hosts at the ALMA Observatory, where we are right now. Yesterday, we had a very nice workshop, I think, in San Pedro de Atacama on the history of the CCAT project, the complications of trying to construct a telescope on a mountain at 5,600 meters or 18,400 feet in the driest desert on Earth, but with the most spectacular view of the submillimeter sky that is possible from a place to which we can go after this event today by bus and then four-wheel drive vehicle. Today, we will hear from representatives of institutions and agencies who have supported this telescope. We will, of course, hear from Fred Young, Mr. Fred Young, for whom the telescope is named, our passionate supporter. And I want to, in particular, make a mention to all of the collaborators who've made this possible, starting 32 years ago when we first had the idea to build this telescope. The CCAT Observatory Corporation is a very tiny organization that exists to allow faculty and researchers and students and engineers and technical staff at universities in Canada, in Chile, in Germany, and the United States to actually come together to develop this idea of building this novel submillimeter telescope, to figure out that we could actually build it on the top of this mountain, and then to figure out the science program that we hope to achieve with it. I think the fact that we are academic institutions makes us a little bit different from many organizations that have constructed large telescope projects. I would say ours isn't a large telescope project. It's a modest telescope project that can be built by a group of very committed, very dedicated, stubborn, and persistent researchers who realize that if they can build a telescope, they can make observations of the universe in a new window that no one else has been able to do before. And that is what FEAST is all about. So that we've been able to build a telescope is actually a great testament to the dedication, the imagination, the vision, the technical capability of a large number of people. Some of them are here in this room, but many of them are not. Hopefully they're out there in virtual land. And I just want to personally thank everyone and congratulate you because we've built it. With that, I would like to now call on Sean Dougherty, the director of the ALMA Observatory. And first, Sean, thank you very much for hosting us for this event. It's really exciting for us to be way up above you.
So, bienvenido a todos. Welcome, everybody. It's really wonderful to see many familiar faces amongst the crowd. And we are certainly very happy to host this exciting event inaugurating this telescope project and this telescope at 5,600 meters. So ALMA's a big facility. We're really used to running a facility at 5,000 meters. And I bow to you all for looking at operating a telescope at 5,600 meters. And be rest assured, we will do everything we can to try and help ensure that you are successful in that very challenging endeavor. And certainly here, we're looking forward to having you as one of our neighbors on the plateau. One thing I would like to do is I would like to thank my colleagues who have helped make today possible. I want to especially thank Dr. Norikazu Mizuno, who is the Deputy Director, ALMA Deputy Director of Operations. He did a lot of the behind-the-scenes work that you didn't see in collaboration with Ivan Lopez and the safety team, with Andreas Beerwald and the hospitality team, and with Danilo Vidal and Karina Halef from the EPO team. My thanks to all of them. I basically just cruised along and have the benefit of all their hard work in supporting Jim and Steve and Rick in pulling this event together. There are some pragmatic things that I must tell you about. We have bathrooms in the corridor outside if you haven't already found them. If the other important thing is if we hear an alarm, we all must leave the building promptly in orderly fashion. And please go to where you came off the buses. So anywhere close to the buses will be great. The same thing, and if there's any, if there's a need to leave the room, an earthquake or anything, we do have earthquakes quite often. Same place. Meet in the where the bus is parked. I'm going to say one thing related to going to 5,600 meters. You're going to be given oxygen. Please don't be shy using your oxygen, all right? You want to have a great time at 5,000 plus meters. Ensure you have a good time by making sure you have enough oxygen. And secondly, drink water. Your dehydration here is really quite challenging. So please drink water. Use sun cream. That's also very important. The UV is very intense at that altitude. It's pretty intense here at the operations support facility. And the other thing is, please use sunglasses. Your eyes will really love you for that. Okay? If you don't have sunglasses, I'm sure we can find some that you can use. Okay? And with that, please enjoy your day. It's going to be fantastic. And for those who have never been to the Altiplano, you are going to be dazzled. Enjoy. Thank you.
Hello, everybody again. I'm Nick Battaglia, Associate Professor at Cornell University. I'm also the CCAT project scientist. And despite being at Cornell, I've been given the privilege of introducing the Canadians because I have the right accent. So, only joke, I swear. We have 3 pre-recorded messages. The first one is from Melanie Woodin, President of the University of Toronto. The second is Benoit-Antoine, President of the University of British Columbia. And the third one is Kim Brooks, President of Dalhousie University.
On behalf of the University of Toronto, I am delighted to congratulate the CCAT Observatory on the inauguration of the Fred Young Submillimeter Telescope. This is a tremendously exciting day for our colleagues at the Canadian Institute for Theoretical Astrophysics, hosted here at U of T, as well as U of T's Dunlop Institute for Astronomy and Astrophysics, and the David A. Dunlop Department of Astronomy and Astrophysics. We are very proud of our collaboration in CCAT, alongside our fellow Canadian university partners, led by the University of Waterloo. Spearheaded by Cornell University, CCAT includes many of the world's leading lights in the field, from partner institutions in the United States, Germany, and Chile, as well as Canada. And today, the inauguration of the Fred Young Submillimeter Telescope heralds a new era in our collective contributions to astrophysics and cosmology. This brilliant new instrument will enable us to explore the universe as never before. It is a testament to our shared belief in the vital importance of curiosity-driven research and international collaboration. Having been built by students and early career scientists as well as senior experts, it is a perfect example of the unique opportunities for hands-on learning at research-intensive universities. Most importantly, it is a profoundly hopeful expression of human capacity and wonder and discovery, and our desire to understand the world around us. Once again, on behalf of the University of Toronto, congratulations to all involved.
Hello, everyone, and congratulations from UBC to the CCAT Observatory on the inauguration of the Fred Young Submillimeter Telescope. What makes a university so important and so impactful is the bold thinking and great discoveries of our students, faculty, and partners. Who else could ask the absolutely fundamental questions about our world, from the nanoscale to the vastness of space? And today's inauguration opens up powerful new ways to explore these questions and to advance the critical fields of physics and astronomy. It's also a wonderful example of what partnerships make possible. UBC is so proud to have been part of CCAT for the past 15 years, working alongside partners in Canada, Germany, the United States, and Chile. Thank you to Cornell University for your leadership in advancing the observatory. And thank you to the University of Waterloo for leading the Canadian CCAT Prime team and helping to bring us to this moment. We were also very pleased to announce new support through the Canada Foundation for Innovation last month, which will help build on this progress. UBC's Dr. Douglas Scott is leading a Canadian team, including the University of Toronto, to develop second-generation instrumentation for the CCAT telescope. And that critical, continued investment is a tangible endorsement of the importance of what we're all celebrating today with the launch of the Fred Young Submillimeter Telescope. Congratulations to everyone involved in this remarkable achievement. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
I'm Kim Brooks, President and Vice Chancellor at Dalhousie University. I woke up this morning in Halifax, where we're about 5 meters above sea level. And when I walked to work, I got damp just from walking across the street. I understand that you're at 5,600 meters, which is part of the reason why this is going to be a magical place for you to do your work. Congratulations to the CCAT Observatory, where we're marking the inauguration of the Fred Young Submillimeter Telescope. We're enormously proud of Dr. Scott Chapman and his collaborators. Dr. Chapman helped develop a new camera for the telescope. And we're excited to be able to work with partners from the United States, Germany, Chile, in Canada, in making new discoveries about the world we share. Thank you.
Great. Next, we have Norman Murray, who has a very long list of things here. CCAT Board of Directors. He is a professor at the Canadian Institute of Theoretical Astrophysics and the University of Toronto, as well as the director, right, of Canadian Atacama Telescope Corporation, or CATC.
Actually, I'm the chair of the CATC board, as he just mentioned, is actually Mike Fick, who's at the University of Waterloo, who was the PI on the original CFI grant that we brought to the project. Unfortunately, he's not able to be here today. I'm sure he's watching online. So hi, Mike, and congratulations. We are actually up here. We'll take movies at the summit and show you the telescope, even though you can actually see it online already. I do want to thank the funding institutions, so the Canadian Foundation for Innovation, which was one of the primary funders, and also the provincial research organizations, the Ontario Research Foundation, et cetera. There's one in British Columbia, and the other institutions, in fact, I should name the universities. They're in CATC. Waterloo, as I said, head the project. UBC, Douglas is there. Calgary, Western, I'm going from west to east, McMaster, Toronto, McGill, and Dalhousie. So those are the universities that were originally involved. We were hoping to get more people involved. There is still a need for more money for more instruments, as we were just getting a hint at. I'm not the chair of the CATC board. That's Mike Fick, in fact. Mike is also on the CCAT board, so I should mention that. I should maybe just make a comment. I'm at the Canadian Institute for Theoretical Astrophysics, so you might wonder why theoreticians are involved in any of this. I should say I was, as an undergraduate, involved in building 10-meter dishes for submillimeter. One of them is now being installed in Chile, what used to be the Caltech Submillimeter Observatory. I then left, didn't use my hands for another 20 or 30 years. And I have to say, I haven't actually been using my hands to build this instrument at all. But there have been a lot of people who have, a lot of undergraduates, graduate students, postdoctoral fellows, and junior faculty, and a lot of engineers and electrical, mechanical engineers. It's a huge project. It involves a lot of people with a lot of different skills. Nobody, no single person could have done this. It's just not possible. And in fact, probably no single university could have done this, although Cornell gave it a good shot. And so I do want to thank, of course, right here in front, Fred, your support throughout these, it's actually been more like 25 years, has been, well, that's why we're here today. So thank you very much. See you at the top.
Thank you, Norm. Our last Canadian speaker is Douglas Scott, professor at the University of British Columbia.
Thanks, Nick. People who know me know that I don't normally dress up very much, but my luggage still hasn't arrived. So I purchased this special local t-shirt. I think it's probably in Patagonia. I'm very, very happy to be here as a representative of the Canadian science community for the inauguration of the Fred Young Submillimeter Telescope. I was hoping that we would pronounce it Feist, because that's a Canadian singer that I really like. But I also really like food, so feast is also appropriate, so I'm happy that it's feast. But joking aside, I know that all Canadian astronomers involved with CCAT are incredibly proud to be involved in this project. As Norm already said, the reason that we're all here is probably Mike Fick, who rounded up the troops, was a cheerleader, certainly in the Canadian context, but also in for CCAT in general. And it's a shame that he's not here, so hopefully you're watching, Mike. Mike started working on that probably in the around 2010 or something. I checked my email. I have CCAT emails going back to 2011. So it has been 15 years already. So it's amazing it's been twice as long as that for Martha and other people, but it's amazing to be at this stage now, finally. CCAT particularly fits the Canadian context well, because we have a long history of expertise in star formation, galaxy evolution, the cosmic microwave background, all topics that on which CCAT impinges. For those going up today, it's going to be a real feast for the eyes, seeing this telescope. But also when the data come in, which is what I'm really waiting for, we're going to answer questions about how do stars form, how do galaxies form, and we might even be able to contribute to figuring out where the whole universe formed in studying inflation. So eventually, it's not going to be just a feast for the eyes, it's going to be a feast for the mind. And that's really what I'm looking forward to. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Hi, good morning. I'm Leonardo Bronfman, a professor at the University of Chile and Chilean representative at the CCAT Board of Directors. And I have the pleasure of presenting the Chilean speakers, starting with Lucía Núñez Aguilera. She is the Astronomy Director at the DECYTI, which is the Division of Science, Technology, Education, Innovation, and Astronomy in the Chilean Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Good morning, everyone. distinguished members of CCAT Board of Directors, representative of universities, and the astronomical community, on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and especially from the Division of Science, Energy, Education, Innovation, and Astronomy, it is a moment of real pleasure to be here with you sharing this important moment. After years of work, from the original idea through the design and the constructions, the CCAT team has seen this long-held dream become a reality, thanks to the cooperation of Germany, Canada, the United States, and Chile. For our country, having the best skies in the world and hosting the new Center for Observing the Universe is a source of real pride and also an ongoing challenge. We don't want to the earth eyes on the universe to close. Welcoming CCAT reinforces our commitment to the global and national astronomy, and we are confident that CCAT and the Fred Young Submillimeter Telescope will enable us to answer questions that science has not yet been able to solve. This challenge put the talent of many professionals to the test and allow them to creatively develop high technologies that today are at our Cerro Chacnantor. For those of us who are for the first time here, this ceremony allowed us to take a moment and feel admiration for the significant undertaking they have carried out. Personally, I'm struck by the images of that massive structures atop the hill, and I'm really moved by the hard work each person put into the design and construction of every part of the facility, as well as the careful transport of these key components for the observatory over great distances, and they now reached Chacnantor, where they were assembled amidst the harsh weather condition of Chilean Altiplano, as many of you have said before. In the Licanantay language, Chacnantor means place of takeoff. Whether it is a coincidence or not, the fact that the Fred Young Submillimeter Telescope is now situated at the summit of this place of takeoff carries symbolic significance. From Chacnantor, the new dreams and challenges of those present here and those who will come to open their eyes to the universe will take flight. So thank you very much.
Now I have the pleasure of presenting Mr. Romulo Fuentes Flores, which is the Director of Research at Universidad de Chile. Please.
Good morning, everyone. I'm honored to be here representing University of Chile. I was asked to reflect on the importance for Chilean science of the Fred Young Submillimeter Telescope. And the first thing that came to my mind, as I am a director of research, was the data. But not the data that you're expecting, like the data from the physical readings of the telescope. But actually, I was thinking about a number of publications. My office back in Santiago, they track the impact, research impact of the university. So they basically count grants and papers. And they constantly remind me that our astronomers contribute a staggering and disproportionate share of the scientific production at the university. And it's also true for the country. So I asked them to, update the data. They told me roughly 10% of the scientific production of papers, basically, where Chilean institutions participate, correspond to the astronomy, astrophysics category of Web of Science. To put that in perspective, there are 257 categories, So one field does a very important, a tenth, basically, of all the production. So yes, it is very important for Chilean science, this project and all the other projects related to astronomy. But of course, you know, science is not about papers. And you know that. You're astronomers. So I'm not an astronomer myself, and I think your field is very inspiring. You don't look for energy solutions. You don't look for a cure for disease. You look for like the basic primal question we all humans have in our heads, right? It's like where all this is coming from. And there is another also point that I want to bring up, and you all did already, and especially now that the world is in very big conflicts of all sort of orders. This project is a beacon of what is possible when people collaborate for good things, right? So we have funding from the United States, from Canada, to see German engineering rising in the peaks of the Chilean desert. So this is crazy, and it's remarkable. So on behalf of University of Chile, I congratulate you all. I wish the very best success for this project, and I look forward to all the answers and the questions this feast will bring to us. Thank you very much.
Well, now I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Chiara Mazzucchelli, which is a chairperson at the SOCHIAS, the Chilean Astronomical Society. She's a professor also in the Universidad Diego Portales.
Good morning, everybody. It is truly a pleasure to be here for the inauguration of the FIST telescope. And it is really a new window on the universe. As an astronomer, I'm incredibly excited that with this new facility, we can study the first galaxies, the cosmic microwave background, the neat details of the interstellar medium and star formation in the local universe. This is really great and covers a broad range of sciences that we work on in Chile and in different countries, of course. And therefore, what I'm most excited about is that with this telescope, we will be able not only to study and try to answer and get new astronomical questions, but also cosmology and fundamental physics, which is incredibly exciting. And I would like to underline and follow a bit to what Romulo said about this incredible feast, that it's really possible thanks to the commitment of the CCAT collaborations and then to a true international commitment. And I think that's what the strength and the responsibility of science should be, to bring people together to work on a bigger goal that only thanks to the work of all of us we can actually achieve. So let me just go a little bit more in the context of Chile. And Chile is really proud to welcome different astronomical endeavors. And this is, of course, thanks, like what Lucía said, to the unique dark and quiet skies of Chile, but also to the exceptional commitment of the Chilean state and the experience of the Chilean state in the last 60 years of great astronomical policy and astronomical diplomacy and science diplomacy. But as the chair of SOCHIAS, I'm here also to underline the excitement of the Chilean scientists, because Chile is not only beautiful skies and the unique skies in the world, but also committed a diverse scientific community. Just to give you a perspective, now there are 24 institutions all over Chile that host active astronomical research. There are more than 300 professional astronomers in the country and more than 500 students in training right now. So we're all very excited about this new possibility of collaborations. And also I would like to underline how excited we already are of the involvement of our Chilean researchers in the key science projects of FIST. And I would in particular highlight the leadership of two of our researchers, Professor Amelia Stutz and Professor Manuela Aravena, who we have heard from yesterday. And yes, to conclude, I would also like to underline that we are also very excited about the different memoranda of understanding that CCAT institutions are signing with Chilean universities, which will allow the mobility of students and the strengthening of long-term scientific collaborations. Therefore, I'm all very excited to go for the first time personally to the Young Radiator, and I hope we will have a great time. Thank you so much, everybody, for the great effort to move forward in science together.
Yeah, thank you, Chiara. So I'm Dominik Riechers. I'm a professor for experimental astrophysics at the University of Cologne in Germany, and I'm the Cologne chair on the board of directors of CCAT. So with that, I would first like to take a second to say hello to everybody in Cologne that's watching. I know that there's a crowd coming together. And now I'm going to introduce the series of German speakers that we have at this event. And the first presentation will be by Susanne Fries-Geier, who is the German ambassador to Chile, who sent us a recorded message. So please place the message.
Honorable representatives of the authorities of the Republic of Chile, Honorable Mr. Jean Dougherty, Director of the ALMA Observatory, Honorable Professor Martha Haynes, Director of the Board of the CCAT Incorporation, Honorable Mr. Fred Young, dear participants. Unfortunately, I cannot be with you for today's inauguration of the Fred Young Submillimeter Telescope, or FEAST. I'm grateful, however, for the opportunity to address you via this short video. Sir Arthur Eddington once said, "The universe is not only stranger than we can imagine, it is stranger than we can imagine." And I absolutely agree with him. Not long ago, I visited the ESO Observatory VLT and ELT in Cornell with the German Federal Minister of Science, Technology and Space, Dorothy Beer. The scientific research carried out by the ESO network, of which ALMA is an important part, is absolutely mind-blowing. And this new telescope, FEAST, will also help us to come another step closer to understanding the universe and thus the origin of all life. And let me share with you 3 thoughts. First, protecting Chile's dark and clean night sky must be a shared responsibility for all involved in astronomy and beyond. We must work together to find ways to protect these unique skies. This requires legal regulations that prevent construction in the vicinity of the observatories. And not only Germany, but all ESO partners are committed to lobby for this goal. My second point, in today's changing world, international collaboration faces challenges. Yet, knowledge can only grow through shared interaction. Scientific discoveries are stimulated by international exchange and enabled by thinking out of one's own box. The CCAT Observatory is proof of this principle. Partners from Germany, the US, Canada, and Chile joined forces to develop this high-tech telescope. And congratulations to all involved parties. No one could have achieved the feast alone. Germany is proud to be part of this outstanding success. With financial support from the German Research Foundation and under the leadership of the University of Cologne, the University of Bonn, the Max Planck Institute for Astrophysics, and the private sector all played a key role. And furthermore, CPI Vertex Antennentechnik, based in Duisburg, built the telescope after 8 years of design, testing, and problem solving. And once constructed in Germany, the telescope was shipped to Chile, where it arrived last year. Special thanks also to all the partners in Germany for making this remarkable international achievement possible. My third and last point. Let's continue working together and explore the strange universe even further. Minister Baer believed that every cent invested in the ESO project is money well spent. And I totally agree. Several Nobel Prizes have already been awarded for the work of ESO, and I'm sure FEAST will contribute even more. I heard that FEAST is like a time machine. It lets us observe the light from the very first galaxies after the Big Bang, tracing the evolution of galaxies all the way to our Milky Way. But overall, it is a first-class example of international cooperation and a reminder that together we can go beyond what we can imagine today. Thank you very much. And once again, congratulations.
All right, and now it is my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker that's here. As this is Achim Tieftrunk, who is the program director for scientific instrumentation and information technology at the German Research Foundation at DFG. Please.
Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, friends, dear Fred Young. In the late 90s, I had the privilege working for ESO at the CEST. That instrument, modest by today's standards, already taught us something fundamentally, that the sub-millimeter sky is rich, complex, and full of surprises, but also that accessing it requires both technical ingenuity and a certain tolerance for altitude. It was also during that time that I met some of the people here in the room who are now involved in this project. And at that time, none of us imagined probably that later we would meet again in Chile at an even higher site in front of a much more exciting telescope. Although I suspect some of you already had plans, probably. Thus, it's a real pleasure, and I must admit, a somewhat surreal moment for me to be back here now today and talk to you. 25 years ago, I changed from the research to funding research, or as my friend said, to the dark side. 15 years ago, a proposal landed on my desk at the DFG, and it described an ambitious idea, a large sub-millimeter telescope on Cerro Chaniator, designed to observe the cold universe. The acronym was simple, CCAT, but the vision was not. And only 5 months later, the German funds for the project were approved by the DFG. And in hindsight, those 5 months may have been the easiest part of that journey. What followed was a process that everyone in this audience knows well: plans evolving, designs adapting, budgets being negotiated with reality, and timelines becoming more philosophical sometimes than chronological. So the original concept, a 25-meter telescope, was bold, maybe too optimistic, but depending on your funding model. But what emerged instead is what we see today: a 6-meter telescope of extraordinary capability, known as the Fred Young sub-millimeter telescope. Some might call this a compromise, and I would argue it's something more interesting. FEAST is not a scaled-down version of a bigger dream. It's a different kind of instrument, built for a different kind of impact. It trades size for speed, field of view, and survey power, and thus it occupies a strategic position in the global ecosystem of astrophysics and observatories. So the transition from CCAT to CCAT Prime and then to FEAST was not easy, but collaborations had to be adopted, and priorities people were rethinking, and it was important to secure new support, and including the generous contribution that led to the naming of the telescope. So projects like this don't happen because everything goes according to plan. They happen because enough people remain committed when things do not go according to plan. This includes scientists, engineers, and yes, also funding agencies. Because from a perspective of a funding organization, a 15-year timeline is notable, and it tests patience, memory, and very often it was hard to explain to the committees why something approved in 2011 is now only being inaugurated. But this is precisely the nature of frontier science. If it were fast, predictable, and risk-free, it wouldn't be frontier science. And to be clear, the decision taken in 2011 was not a bet on a specific design, but it was a bet on people that were standing behind this and willing to do this. And looking around today, I would say it was a bet well placed. So let me close with a simple observation. 15 years ago, the project existed as a document, as an idea and a plan, and today it exists as a telescope on one of the highest and driest sites here on Earth, supplemented by additional GFG funds, ready to observe the universe in ways that were not previously possible. And if history is any guide, the most interesting results will not be the ones we are currently predicting. They will come from the unexpected. So new data, new correlations, new challenges for our models. FEAST is designed to do exactly that, to map, to discover, and to surprise, and inevitably to create a lot more work. So in that sense, I'm looking forward to your new proposals for your new instrumentation, and congratulations on what you achieved. Thank you.
Thank you, Achim. So our next speaker will be Carsten Gerloff, who is representing the Rectorate of the University of Cologne as the Chancellor of the University of Cologne. Please.
Thank you. Senoras y senores, distinguished guests, dear mothers, fathers, makers and friends of CCAT and FEAST. As Chancellor of the University of Cologne, it's a pleasure for me to bring the warm greetings from our university, University of Cologne, and maybe also the other German universities which are part of the collaboration to you. First thing I would say is that the CCAT consortium can be very proud of what it has achieved so far. Not only by astronomical standards, extremely short period of 15 years, the submillimeter telescope was designed in its current shape and has now been fully assembled. This is remarkably fast compared to other large-scale facilities. The innovation, but also the sheer amount of work you have put into this is just as remarkable as the resources you have been able to mobilize over the years. I can say that for us as a university, this magnitude, infrastructure of this magnitude is something very special. And we are lucky to have Cornell on our side. But it is by far not only we who have contributed significant resources of our own and from our state. The realization of the telescope was only possible thanks to the commitment of many public funders. Here I would like to express my thanks to the German Research Foundation, DFG, for its continuous support, to your division at the Chilean Ministry, also to the Chilean Agencia Nacional de Investigación y Desarrollo, ANID, for being open to join funding applications. But these days, it's no longer possible to fund such a project with public funds alone. We also need private sponsors who are committed to science and support basic research. That is why it is a special honor to have Mr. Fred Young here with us today. Mr. Young, I would like to extend a very special thank to you for your selfless dedication through your planned financial contributions, but also through your additional support when some unforeseen circumstances arose. And I think also through your spirit as a successful entrepreneur, you have proven yourself to be a great driver of current astronomical science. It's only thanks to your help that the FEAST telescope could be realized. Many thanks to you. But let me add that the telescope is also a powerful example of international collaboration, which may be especially important in these days. Scientists and institutions from the United States, Canada, Chile, and Germany have worked hand in hand to bring FEAST to life. And let me say that it may give us a cause for some optimism to see that despite all the ups and downs in day-to-day transatlantic politics, both private and public engagement, as well as collegial cooperation among so many international scholars, have continued so steadily over all these years. Moreover, not only we as University of Cologne in our role of the representative of CCAT Incorporated as a whole in Chile, not only we are especially grateful to the Chilean authorities for the framework and privilege granted under Decree 15172, which makes many things easier and therefore provides an excellent and some would say indispensable foundation for this international scientific cooperation. For the University of Cologne, we see the FEAST as a key element of our research infrastructures and central to our astrophysics activities. Professor Schwarz, our Chief Research Infrastructure Officer, will surely comment on our infrastructure strategy in his contribution that follows. Astrophysics holds a prominent place at our university. Evidence for this brings not only a collaborative research center funded by the DFG, or the brand new cluster of excellence Dynaverse that brings together leading institutions in Germany. That is why I can assure you that the University of Cologne will continue to make its contribution reliably, also in the new, now beginning operational phase. Scientists of University of Cologne will also be actively engaged in the development of the data center that now needs to be set up for the observatory. To close, I wish the feast a successful launch, clear skies at all times, and many groundbreaking observations that will fundamentally advance our understanding of how stars form. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gerloff. So it's already teased, our next speaker will be Professor Günther Schwarz from the University of Cologne. So he is also part of the rectorate of University of Cologne and the chief officer for research infrastructure. So please.
Thank you, Dominic. Thank you very much. I'm a biochemist, so I didn't learn astronomy, but in my young age, when I was a teenager, I built a little telescope, and I had the pleasure to see Comet Halley. So there's a historic association. But as a research infrastructure officer, I'm representing the appreciation of our university for the importance of these kind of commitments, of these kind of investments into science. And Cologne University, I can report, for the last 20 years had a dedicated development and investment into collaborative research in all areas, in natural science, life science, and also social sciences. And in Germany, we have a funding scheme which is very competitive and very attractive. These are so-called clusters of excellence, where our friends in the close neighborhood in Bonn, we had the success to constantly acquire more and more of these clusters. And the last addition to this cluster is the cluster of Dynaverse, which we operate together with our friends at the University of Bonn. There's no doubt in all of us that research infrastructure is the foundation for excellent science. And it is also accepted that most transformative discoveries in recent years emerged from such shared institutions and research infrastructures. They are jointly developed, jointly operated, and jointly advanced across the institutions, borders, countries. The Fred Young submillimeter telescope is, in our view, a manifestation of such a collaborative spirit on all levels. It's still a developmental journey, as we heard, over many years. It's building and finally also finding the right spot, the location up here, very close to the sky. The collaboration on astrophysical research in infrastructure has a long-standing history, a tradition at our institution for many years, in close partnership with the Max Planck Institute for Astrophysics and Radio Astronomy, University of Bonn, as well as industry partners such as Vertex Antennentechnik. We heard this before. We also contributed to key technological innovations, such as the carbon fiber back structures and the milled aluminum mirror surfaces. The feast is the culmination of our joint long-term developments in these areas. It builds on earlier achievements, for example, the Gornagard telescope, the Nanten 2, the Herschel Space Observatory, or the Sophia Airborne Observatory, just to name a few of them. These projects have produced hundreds of publications. We have heard before that this is also appreciated by our colleagues in Chile, and not only many papers but also high impact papers in top journals such as Nature and Science. In Cologne, we are proud to cover the entire path of astrophysical discovery. We invest in developing detectors, sensors, building instruments, operating telescopes, and at the end, of course, collecting the data and analyzing the data. And I think the future is really the power of studying and analyzing these data with the latest tools. And I would like to mention Jürgen Stutzky as one of the drivers at our institution, who is really the father of these long-standing developments. Yesterday's presentation was absolutely impressive for me as a biochemist. I could very well follow the topics. I learned that we have dedicated researchers fully committed to their science in all academic stages, and this telescope will re-enter a new territory of submillimeter observations. And I'm sure that this research will also establish and expand on the collaborations with our colleagues in Chile. At the moment, we have 9 universities working together, and I think we should expand this to the younger researchers and work towards building collaborative graduate schools. And I think the German Science Foundation and also Chile is looking forward to expand on this. And of course, I want to thank also the fundings. We have a lot of funding in Europe and Germany. The German Science Foundation is a very solid source for that, and even recently has expanded its fund for large equipment. And without further ado, I would like to thank everyone who contributed to this project, and I wish our facility, all our projects in the future, exciting discoveries and in the years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Günther. So our next speaker will be Michael Hoch, who is the rector of the University of Bonn. He unfortunately also can't be there, so he sent us a pre-recorded video message, which we are going to play now.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and partners, I very much regret that I cannot be with you in person today, but it is a great pleasure and an honor for me to join you in this way as we celebrate the inauguration of a truly remarkable instrument, the Fred Young Submillimeter Telescope. With its unique capabilities, it will open a new window onto the cold universe, revealing the birth of stars and galaxies, and helping us better understand the origins of cosmic structure. It will allow us to map vast areas of the sky with unprecedented sensitivity, to trace the evolution of galaxies, and to deepen our understanding of the early universe. This achievement is the result of an extraordinary international collaboration, bringing together partners from Germany, the United States, Canada, and Chile. The University of Bonn is proud to be part of this endeavor. Our participation builds on a long tradition in astronomy, going back to the 19th century, when Friedrich Wilhelm Argelander created the so-called Bonner Durchmusterung and laid the foundations of modern stellar cartography. In the 20th century, this tradition continued in radio astronomy with milestones such as the Stockard telescope and the Effelsberg 100-meter telescope. And it is through our close cooperation with our partners in Cologne and the Max Planck Society that this legacy continues to thrive. Together, we have been contributing to the CCAT project for many years, and we are delighted to see it now reaching this important milestone. The inauguration of the Fred Young Submillimeter Telescope marks not only a technological achievement, but also the beginning of a new era of discovery. We look forward to the scientific insights it will bring, and I wish this remarkable project every success. Thank you very much, and warm greetings from Bonn to all of you.
All right, and our last German speaker will be Professor Frank Bertoldi from the University of Bonn, who is the Bonn representative on the CCAT Board of Directors. Frank.
Thank you, and thanks, ISO, for hosting us here. I'm very happy, and of course, I have to thank those who enabled this. Besides Fred, of course, thanks for your, untiring support, and also as you being with us all the time along. Fred came to so many of our science meetings and interacted with us, and I think that was also very encouraging for us. It was not just a source of resources, but really also moral support that you provided to us. And I remember many interesting evening discussions over a glass of whiskey and so on, and about not just talking astronomy, but the world in general. And I think that was very encouraging and a great support. Now, our universities and Cologne and Bonn really belong together in this effort, rooted back maybe in with my predecessors who started radio astronomy and built the Stocker telescope, which was the biggest radio telescope at the time, 1956, the largest research infrastructure in Germany actually at the time, and long heritage afterwards. And then in Cologne, Gisbert Winnewisser, I should mention him. He started astronomy, radio astronomy in Cologne, and after him, Jürgen Stutzky, who with his never tiring energy pushed this project for us. And it has been unusual that universities provide so much really also material and continuous support for such large research infrastructure. So thank you very much to the rectorates of Cologne and Bonn. Bonn, I want to mention Holger Imperkofen in particular, who is now the Vice Chancellor, who has always supported us, never tiring, untiring support, material and also moral support. And on a personal note, I think the first time I heard about CCAT was around the turn of the century or so, when I talked to some Caltech colleague who initially were part of the CCAT project, one of the big partners with Cornell, and wondering what's all this about. And at the time I was working with Carl Menten at the Max Planck Institute for Radio Astronomy. And I said, oh, hey, there's an interesting project going on. Shall we join? And then Carl said, no, let's get some other smaller telescope going first. APEX, we built the APEX telescope. And then I went to Bonn University, and then together with Jürgen in particular, we really pushed this to the next level. We've always operated small submillimeter telescopes, mostly driven by Cologne in the Swiss Alps, then with Japanese colleagues here in Chile, the Nanten 2 telescope. That was quite an adventure, getting our high altitude training with that. And then we terminated that. Let's join CCAT. And how long have we been involved? On a personal note, I just have to look at my daughter back there, Anilou. She's 20 years old, and the first CCAT project meeting was in Waterloo. Hi, Mike Fick, who organized it there. And I think that Anilou, we took her at the time. She was 2 years old, I think. It must have been in 2007 or so in the summer. And so ever since we've been with this project, and it has evolved a lot, and it was very exciting. I learned so much. Thanks also to Vertex, who we bugged with so many problems, and I think they never made money. They put money into this project because we kept changing it and so on. Thanks for staying with us all the time. It's been very exciting time. So yeah, as I'm looking forward, looking at what in a few hours we're going to be up there looking at the result of it, and I'm very proud of being part of that project. Thanks to all you who contributed to it, and yeah, let's get that sucker going. Yeah.
Thank you, Frank. Hello, I'm Mike Niemek. I'm a professor of physics and astronomy at Cornell University. And it's my pleasure today to introduce our distinguished Cornell speakers. First, we have Peter Lowen, who's the Harold Tanner Dean of Cornell's College of Arts and Sciences. He leads the largest and most academically diverse college at Cornell. And Peter's research centers on the future of democratic societies and the politics of technological change. He spent 14 years at the University of Toronto, where he served as the director of the Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy before joining Cornell in 2024. So, Peter.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here today with all of you, even though my hand doesn't work. I want to just say it's great to be in this beautiful place for this deeply impressive milestone of the opening of the Fred Young submillimeter telescope. And it's so good to be here to thank so many of you countless number who've played pivotal roles, all of you, in getting us to this great moment of inauguration. Building something like this amazing telescope requires an incredible number of disciplines to come to the table. Astronomers and astrophysicists who work on the technical aspects of it, computer scientists who are developing advanced computational algorithms to be able to deal with the incredible torrent of data that will flow out of this telescope, to cosmologists providing the theoretical underpinnings so we can understand what in fact we're seeing from all this data. And I'm just personally quite proud that the College of Arts and Sciences at Cornell is the home to all of those disciplines and many, many more. And beyond that, we have beyond those scientists at all career levels, we have other people who've contributed to this groundbreaking telescope at Cornell. Numerous engineers, machinists, and other experts at the Cornell Laboratory for Accelerator-Based Sciences and Education, or CLASS. And perhaps most importantly, beyond our scientists, we've had students. These students have been involved at the undergraduate and graduate level in the creation of this telescope. They've played crucial roles throughout the project in designing instrumentation, solving engineering challenges, and I think working as that inspirational fuel that professors rely on to keep going in the work that they're doing. They've played crucial roles throughout the project. Some of them, for example, have worked with Abby Kreitz on Nexus Research Fellowships. Abby's here today. Another example is Lawrence Lin, a doctoral candidate who's been working with Mike on the cryogenic process needed to cool the receptors that are in the prime cam that he's built. Other students have worked on circuit boards, testing parts and designing systems for scientific measurement. They've brought their energy, their excitement, and their hard work to this project, and I'm so proud that so many of them are involved in our astronomy department, in our College of Arts and Sciences more broadly. And then there's two more thanks that I want to give especially. The first is to our distinguished colleague, Professor Martha Haynes. Martha carried the torch for CCAT with Riccardo Giovanelli, her husband, and she carried it later on her own through many ups and downs and twists and turns that would have daunted a much lesser person. But Martha, we're all here today in very, very large part because of your dedication and perseverance. Thank you very, very much. And the final thank you is to, of course, Fred Young, who is not only a remarkable Cornellian and a remarkable person, but a remarkable remarkable champion, of the things that we need most in our world: a passion for discovery, for wonder, and for doing things on behalf of others, on behalf of humanity, not because it gives you any benefit, but because it benefits so many other people. And the Fred Young submillimeter telescope would not have been possible, Fred, without your tremendous generosity and vision and wherewithal and perseverance. I thank you very, very much on behalf of the College of Arts and Sciences. Thank you very much.
So it's also an honor to introduce our president, Michael Kotlikoff, the 15th president of Cornell University. And he's a veterinarian and a biomedical researcher whose laboratory's work in cell signaling and heart repair was continuously funded by the National Institutes of Health for over 35 years. And prior to his appointment, President Kotlikoff was Cornell's longest serving provost, holding that office from August 2015, to June 2024. President Kotlikoff, yes.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. It's really wonderful to be here. My comments will be understandably a little bit Cornell-centric, but I just want to start by really congratulating and thanking all of our partners, our Canadian partners, our Chilean partners, our German partners. This has really been a wonderful international collaboration and wouldn't be possible without all of these partners. We learned yesterday that what you receive from the university really depends somewhat on your lens or your aperture. And I'd just like to give a little bit a story of my aperture in this project. About 12 years ago, I think it was, I was a new provost at Cornell, and Martha Haynes came into my office with a pitch. Sometimes as a provost, you feel a little bit like a Hollywood mogul. People are coming in and pitching. And Martha had a very, very good pitch. It had some of the usual elements. This is a wonderful idea, but we don't have any money, and my chair doesn't have any money, and my dean doesn't have any money, and we really need some support. And her pitch really was unique in that it also was a pitch for the department and for Cornell. What she said was Cornell has distinguished itself for many years in astrophysics, in cosmology and astronomy, and we had a long run with Arecibo and a great legacy in radio astronomy, and hired many, many faculty, but Arecibo is over, and we really need something for the department and to continue this distinguished legacy at Cornell. So that was a great pitch. And of course I said, well, let me think about it a little bit, et cetera, and I'll get back to you. And then Martha did something very clever. She sent in Fred Young, and Fred came in and he said to me, well, I'll give you 10 million I'll put up 10 million if you put up 10 million. I think was the story. And it was very clear, if I didn't put up the 10 million, he wasn't putting up the 10 million. And Fred likes to talk about us as co-investors, but of course, Fred was investing his own money. That extraordinary collaboration between Martha and Fred, which we've heard before, is what is the core of this initiative. And I'm just so proud to be here to honor that collaboration. And one more round of applause, please, for Fred and Martha. So one of the things that I love about Cornell is that we have goals of excellence, and we have an extraordinarily collaborative environment at Cornell. We like to call this sort of low walls or low fences and high goals. And today we find with our partners, we've reached the goal of 18,400 feet. The inauguration of the Fred Young submillimeter telescope and the culmination of literally decades of this unique collaboration across continents between Cornell and our partners and our partner institutions. It is the realization through the incredible determination, foresight, and vision of so many treasured partners of a unique vision for an enterprise led by academic scientists. And I repeat that, a effort really driven by, built by academic scientists, many of whom you've heard from today. I've been following this program and this project from Ithaca for many years, and it is an incredible privilege and honor to be here for its culmination. The Fred Young submillimeter telescope will bring the world's most powerful telescope at one of the world's best locations, if not the most convenient, to scientists from around the world. It will create new opportunities for early career researchers to engage in operations and instrument development. It will enable scientists to peer into the cosmos, to understand our universe in new ways, and to share that knowledge with the world. And it will carry the spirit of collaboration and cooperation that brought us to this moment. Through these new partnerships and new discoveries, lighting the path of scientific exploration and advancing the Cornell ethos of collaboration for generations of scientists to come. So I would again highlight the efforts of Martha and Fred, their determination to get this through, all of the faculty at Cornell, at Cologne, at Bonn, at all of our Canadian partner universities, all of our Chilean partner universities. This is a great day, and I'm very honored to be here to celebrate it with you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you both. And it's always a pleasure to introduce Gordon Stacy, our fearless CCAT project director, and the David C. Duncan professor. Yeah. David C. Duncan professor in the physical sciences.
Thank you, Mike. Wow, this has been quite a journey. It's kind of emotional for me, I must say. I was a Cornell grad student many moons ago, did far infrared spectroscopy, airborne, tons of fun. Met my wife, she's here. I told my wife I did star formation over cosmic time, which I know convinced her I was the right band for her. So after, with Martin Harwood, I went to Berkeley with Reinhard Genzel and Charlie Towns. And then I met Jürgen, who's been a fast friend at Calic for a long time. Weird. And I learned about submillimeter spectroscopy. And so they were working on UCERT at the start, and then they moved to JCMT, the brand new telescope, still the world's largest submillimeter telescope in the world, on Mauna Kea. And I did some work there, came back to Cornell, and continued airborne, and had already gotten the submillimeter bug. It's the same science, largely, at least from my point of view. It's the physics of star formation. And we built an instrument that went on JCMT. We built an instrument that went on CSO. We built an instrument that, the same instrument that went JCMT went South Pole, which was tons of fun. I mentioned that yesterday with that young man there. And then we brought the next generation of that to Apex. So it's been a fantastic career, I must say, a lot of fun. And here's my excuse. Our daughter's getting married in 2 weeks. I know I'm not going to be erect there. So all these telescopes that I've listed, fantastic facilities, but the ones that are still in existence remain fantastic facilities. This is the best. All those things I listed were the best. The Mauna Kea, the best at its time. South Pole, people still argue it's the best. I don't think so. Apex, the best at that altitude, but we're higher. Those guys are all more or less pointed science, which is what I did. You look at an individual galaxy and you get some astrophysics about that. You learn about the buildup of the elements and this and that. But the cool thing about FEAST, which I was convinced very soon after we moved from the big telescope was really cool, was that it could map the sky in huge swaths and do brand new science, stuff that I hadn't thought about, but once I gave some thought to and learned from my more experienced colleagues like Mike, was really cool stuff, the cosmology stuff. That's then we're not talking about star formation over cosmic time. We're now talking about star and galaxy formation over cosmic time. Universe formation, it's going up the list. It's very exciting. So I'm a spectroscopist by nature. And so I naturally, I wanted to see what we could do with spectroscopy, and the same line that's in my PhD thesis, the carbon plus line, mapping it at high redshift. And so we built this instrument that's coming on next year. It'll go into Mike's big receiver, and it'll map the evolution of the universe from interesting cosmic times, from the end of the epoch of recombination, which is something like 500, 400 million years after the Big Bang, forward to the peak of the star formation history of the universe at redshift 2 or so. And that's when the sun formed. And so it's really cool stuff. It's new stuff. I'm tremendously excited about it. I hope, I just think this is the best site ever, and I'm so glad to be here. And I want to make sure I thank Cornell for all the support you guys have given us. Fred, of course. It's been wonderful working with the German colleagues who have become attached to many of you very much. We've had a lot of fun together. And and then one last thing I want to say. When I started, sensitivities were 10 to the minus 13 NEPs. People in the audience that are technical know what that means. We're 1 million times more sensitive now. It's just really amazing, the detectors. So pleased to be here. I'm pleased to see everybody and see so many friends. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Parsley. I'm the project engineer and deputy project manager for CCAT. I'm also a Cornell employee, and I'm also a Cornell alum. So shout out for the Big Red. I'm here. I have the extreme pleasure and honor to introduce another Cornell alum who you've already heard all about, so he doesn't really need much of an introduction. Let's give it up, Mr. Fred Young.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. President Kotlikoff mentioned that I asked him for $10 million. He didn't tell you the rest of the story. He said, we need more. So, and I'm going to abbreviate my talk, where there have been so many good comments that have already been made. Here we are at the inflection point of the creation to life of the CCAT Observatory and its Feast telescope, at the end of its making and the beginning of its use. First, I want to parenthetically say that following a large number of astronomers speaking eloquently and comprehensively on today's astronomical project makes it a bit daunting for me. I never even took a course in astronomy, so I'll focus my talk today on the history that I've been involved with for the past 25 years. The origins of the host are related to this host institution of ALMA. Riccardo Giovanelli and a number of others came to as has been stated before, came to this site looking for a place for what became ALMA with their partners from Canada and eventually from Canada and from Germany. And that was in 1994. And they were later joined by European Southern Observatory and the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan to create what I understand is a $1.6 billion Atacama large millimeter array of telescopes. Quite something, especially for those of us here who would come onto the site and see the big buildings, so on and so forth. Later today, we'll see the marvelous array. I think we'll be near the array of telescopes, and of course to see the Feast telescope. In 1998, following the first adventures down here looking for a place for ALMA, Giovanelli inspired the search for an even higher location for on the nearby mountaintops above the atmosphere, which is, above the atmosphere's inversion layer. That's a technical term that indicates that at the mountain site that we are going to be at with the Feast telescope, we're going to be above what's known as an inversion layer, where there is even less water vapor than there is here for ALMA. And that led in turn to a partnership among Cornell and Caltech and consortia of universities in Canada and Germany with the support of the U.S. National Science Foundation. In 2002, I had the privilege of joining the search for my first of several trips to Chile with Giovanelli to identify a location and advance necessary relationships within the country of Chile. Long story short, and it was a long story, this tedious effort was suspended in 2016 when the National Science Foundation suspended their further funding, and that caused Caltech in turn to do likewise. And that's an inflection point in time also, because that was the date that caused me to increase my funding with the remaining groups and for the CCAT Corporation to continue cooperation with the Universidad de Chile under the auspices of the country's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and today's object of our attention, the FEAST telescope. And only 1 year later, after this, we really got into gear. We engaged Vertex to design and build and install what in 2020 got named FEAST. Recognition is due not only to the late Ricardo Giovanelli, but to his wife, which we have recognized, but I'd like to do also at this time, Cornell Professor Martha Haynes, who also had been involved really from the start in Chile, and inspiringly and competently served as board chair of the CCAT Corporation. And there are a number of other names that I was going to mention here, but they have been comprehensively listed, and so I'm not going to take the time to do that. I do want to just mention that the 7 members of the CCAT board are all PhD professors from the universities involved, very competent, dedicated people. I won't listen by name. They've all been speakers up to this point. I do want to mention, though, that I have had my closest relationship with President Kotlikoff and also with Peter Lewin and his predecessors, the dean at Cornell. And I want to especially recognize, though, Peter Fassel, who is managing director of CPI Vertex Antennentechnik GmbH in Germany, which designed and built the telescope and is in the process now of installing it in Chile. As an engineer, I'm particularly impressed with the fact that he's led that development. And for us in attendance today, we can share enduring pride for years to come as astronomers exploit FEAST to discover valuable scientific knowledge, and students are inspired to pursue astronomy as a vocation. Martha says we have to call it FEAST, not all the other things. But on this occasion, I'm going to call it FIST and say, thank you all for your role in the launch of FIST. Thank you.
And next, I have to deviate from the program slightly, because I think the one person who we haven't really mentioned and we don't like to let him talk is Jim Blair, our project manager. And what we can absolutely say is that none of us would be here if it weren't for Jim.
Thank you, Martha. I'm going to have a Gordon moment. Mr. Young, your telescope is functionally complete. With your permission, I'm in contact with the summit. We'd like to turn it on and activate it. May we proceed? See if the wonder of technology will keep up. It takes a second to start things. I know it seems like anticlimactic, but it will move very quickly when it begins to move. I have confirmation it's moving. You'll see it in a moment. And facing you are the mirrors, which are one of a kind, state of the art, and everything that you talked about, they will enable. Obviously, with the instruments provided by Cornell, Cone, and a whole bunch of scientific minds and brilliance behind them. Congratulations, Mr. Young. I know you see a bit of a skeletal structure, but all that's missing is the cladding. That is the mirror M1 facing you. M2 is under the shutter. This telescope is assembled. We have about 60 days left to put on what I call the wallpaper, the cladding on this structure. There's some electronic doors that now need to be plugged in. It's powered. We just got to button it up, put on catwalks. It is functionally complete. And so again, congratulations. And I look forward to taking all of you up there patiently in small groups so that you can see it yourself. It is an amazing feat. Again, thank you. And thank you for attending our inauguration.